Hi everyone, welcome to Tuesday Check-In. So this past Sunday we were blessed to be able to have Tira Keel as our guest preacher, and she helped us consider the story of Jacob wrestling with God from Genesis. Now this story is a picture of some time when we have a worldview or a way of looking at things, something we hold to be true. We have this worldview and we hold it tightly. And this story is a picture of when that worldview comes into question. And that is a struggle. We oftentimes really wrestle with it because what we're needing to learn is to figure out how that way we are looking at the world might be preventing us from really serving and loving others. And so we'll go through a struggle before we get some insight about what might need to change. And so the story itself has kind of two endings. One is that during the wrestling, Jacob's hip is injured. And so he'll continue throughout the rest of his story with a limp. And that pictures for us how we'll return to these kinds of questions again and again. And that's okay. That's just a very human thing to be doing. But the other kind of end to the story is that Jacob gets a new name, Israel, and he'll continue to be referred to that name going forward. And so that is a picture from when we are able to really figure out how we might need to look at things differently so that we can actually love our neighbor more effectively. So Tira gave us a really great example of how this works in her own life and marriage. And so I thought today what we would do is just be prompted to spend a little time in reflection about our own lives. Instead of doing a meditation, I invite you to just, when this video is done, to just sit and think about the way this might be playing out for you. I know in my own life, for example, because this can impact relationships of all kinds, it's really made me think about, well, it reminds me of a time when I really had to think about the way I understood my own role as a parent. So at one point it became really clear to me that I was really invested in certain ways of looking at what my job was as a parent for my children. And so if my daughter would bring some issue to me that she wanted to talk about, I would really quickly jump in with trying to fix it. And this is because I viewed my role as a parent, like I felt really strongly that it was my job to help, and that not necessarily prevent all my children's suffering, but, I had lived a life and I had gained some wisdom. And if I could potentially help my child look at something a little differently or figure out something a little differently, that was my job as a parent. And so I would sort of always default to that way of being with her when she brought issues to me. And eventually I would just, the desire to do that was so strong that eventually she just had to say to me, "Mom, I need you to just listen. I need you to not jump in with fixes. I just need you to listen." And that was difficult to hear. It was a struggle because, immediately I felt defensive, like, hey, I'm a good listener. I'm a great listener. And it's true in general. But in this specific situation, this worldview I had about my job as parent, right? It just caused me to override what I knew to be true about the importance of being a space for just listening. And it just so consistently overrode it that at some point my daughter just had to tell me the truth. And I'm so glad that she did, because as I struggled and as I moved through that, I recognized, oh, okay, yes, I understand that my anxiety had been driving that default, and that there were times where just listening was the better thing to do. Now, of course, it's still a struggle. I still go forward with my limp and I do this imperfectly, but I do hope that in general I have a new name in our relationship, which is the mom who listens as opposed to the mom who always tries to fix something. So I hope that you might be invited today to just take a few quiet moments to think about how this Jacob struggle might be playing out in your own life. And if you would be willing, we'd love to hear from you in the comments about how this might be playing out for you in your own life. Because, you know, everybody plays out this story in their own life. So we'd love to hear how everyone is working on it if you're willing to share. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. And you are warmly invited to be with us at church, either in person, online, 10:30 a.m. on Sunday. Thanks so much, everyone.